Thank you, Madam Chair. And first, I want to thank you and Senator Manchin for pushing this process forward. Thank the President for these two exceptional nominees. I've been listening to this discussion, and we've sort of been talking around an interesting issue, and I don't know the answer to it, but in business, we have a concept called life cycle cost, where you look at the cost over a long period of time, not just at the time you write the check. And it strikes me that that really gets at the heart of this discussion about environmental externalities as they fit into the rate. You can say a rate is just and reasonable, but if those life cycle costs of floods, fires, excessive storm damage, if those are factored in, then that is part of whether the rate is just and reasonable, I would argue. I realize that's a big question, but I think it's worth talking about. You can't just take a snapshot in time and say this is just and reasonable. If that decision leads to greater costs later on, that will be borne by consumers. A couple of specific questions. Ms. Clement, role of storage, demand demand response and distributed generation in the sort of mix of capacity and how you make those kinds of calculations. Give me your thought, please.
Thank you, Senator King, and I've enjoyed and appreciated watching your leadership on storage issues and demand-side resource issues and opportunities. Under the Federal Power Act, it's incumbent upon FERC to ensure that its regional markets and its electricity markets are open to competition, that there is not undue discrimination against any type of resource. And as we've seen over the last 10, 15 years, the storage market has really evolved. Demand-side resource opportunities have evolved. Smart energy efficiency has evolved. And all of these resources have the ability to provide both electricity and reliability services to the system. And so FERC has taken some action. There is certainly action still before the Commission on this question about how to ensure that the markets are open to opportunities for the resources like the ones that you mentioned. And if confirmed, that would be a priority for me to continue going forward, looking at the markets and in trying to ensure that discrimination is not taking place so that American innovation has the ability to keep growing the type of resources you mentioned and others.
So those resources like storage, demand response should be able to compete and be allowed to compete in the capacity market. Is that your view?
Yes, yes, sir. The FERC should not, if resources have the ability to perform technically, to provide a service that the Commission has deemed worthy of compensation, then all resources with the technical characteristics that allowed it to compete should be able to compete.
One comment for both of you, and I discussed this with both of you previously this week. I'm very concerned about the cybersecurity of the gas pipeline system. I'm concerned about the grid generally. I don't think we're as secure as we think we are, but particularly the gas pipeline system, which the FERC has a role of regulating pipelines, allowing pipelines, permitting pipelines, but TSA has the responsibility of the security, cybersecurity of pipelines. I'd like both of your thoughts on A, whether you see that as a significant issue, and B, whether you believe that should be a FERC responsibility, and do we need a statutory change to shift the responsibility from TSA to FERC?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. Cybersecurity is a huge issue, and our Commission's been putting a lot of emphasis on it, working with our utilities and encouraging them on cybersecurity, and they've been doing a very good job on it. I know FERC has got an office dedicated to cybersecurity, and FERC is taking it very seriously and elevating it to the importance that it deserves. Pipeline safety specifically, I would note that we as a state regulator do the pipeline safety in Virginia, and we do it under contract with the federal pipeline, it's called PHMSA. The acronym is Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, and that's worked very well. We do it through I guess you'd call that cooperative federalism. As far as the role for FERC's job, FERC is to make sure that the pipelines, that cybersecurity has been elevated to a priority. It has done that. And I think the issue about whether there needs to be additional federal legislation, haven't formed an opinion on that, but I can promise you if I'm honored to get to FERC, that certainly would be a priority to be a cognizant of and to continue working with the office and the great staff that FERC already has who are working on that cybersecurity issue.
Well, in New England, the gas pipeline system is a de facto part of the electric grid because about 60% of our power comes from gas, none of which comes from the region, all of which comes via pipeline. So if there's a failure, if there's a cyber attack on the pipeline system, the grid will go down just as if there were an attack on a SCADA system in a operating plant or at the ISO.
And the question?
Well, I just think I just commend that to both of yours attention. I think this is a very, very serious issue that will only increase in its significance. So not really a question, just urging you to take this issue of pipeline security, cybersecurity very seriously as you move on to the commission.
Well, thank you, and I can certainly make that pledge to take it very seriously because it is an extremely serious issue, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.